Magandang gabi po mga kabayani, no? Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao. Alam niyo po ba na tayo po ay live ngayon, no? At tuloy-tuloy na nagbabalita, no? Nagpapahayag ng iba't ibang mga programa tungkol sa kasaysayan at kultura ng ating bansa, no? At itong mga nakaraang buwan, o nakaraang linggo rather, no? Ay merong mga activity na sinagawa tayo. Pero kahapon lang, punong-puno no? Dahil nga dun sa 75th Charter Day, no? ng Order of the Rights of Rizal. At itong darating na June 19, no? Na 161st birth anniversary ng ating pambansang bayani na Dr. Jose Rizal, no? Pero bago ko na kahapon pumalaot sa ating Nights of Rizal activities, siyempre, trabaho muna tayo. Tayo po umattend sa isang meeting, no? Face-to-face meeting ng Cavite Provincial Tourism and Cultural Affairs Office, no? Na sa pamumuno ni Miss Rosel Sanggalang, no? Ng Cavite Tourism. At pinagpulungan namin doon yung iba't ibang mga programa na nagaganapin dito sa Cavite sa darating ng mga buwan, no? At ang maganda diyan, ito ay merong mga plano at sana nga ay maisagawa. Mula sa provincial capital ng Cavite, tayo po ay nag-drive. Papunta naman sa NCCA para makita ng face-to-face yung ating mga kasama doon. Maraming salamat po sa mga libro na ibinigay ng NCCA, lalo na kay Mr. Charles Salazar, no, ang head ng Heritage Section. No? At nakasama rin natin si Miss Corinne Olaes at nakita rin natin si Miss Riz. No? Nakaraniwan nakaka-meeting natin online lamang, no, dito sa ating mga meetings sa NCCA, no. Kaya from there, tumuloy na po tayo sa Night of Rizal. At sa Night of Rizal, nagkaroon ng wreath laying ceremony sa sa Fort Santiago. Medyo hapon-hapon na rin 'yon. Medyo paulan na, buti na lang at natapos ang programa, maganda naman. Nag-ikot din kami sa Rizal Shrine, no, sa Fort Santiago at napakaganda, no. Inaasahan po natin ang ating mga kababayan, no, na pumunta sa ating Rizal Shrine sa Fort Santiago at marami pong makikita diyan, no. Mula sa Fort Santiago, tumuloy na kami sa sa IHQ, no, sa international headquarters, no, at nagkaroon ng ilang fellowship, no, bago yung mismong formal ceremony. Binabagi na nga kami doon, no. Inabot na kami ng pasado alas 10 ng gabi dahil nga sa dami ng mga aktibidad na isinagawa, no. Kaya congratulations po sa mga ano, no, sa mga nakatanggap ng award, siyempre mga kinilala sa ating seremonya kahapon, no. Napakaganda, no, ng ating nangyayari po, no. So sa ngayon meron tayong mga ilang nakikita ko sa Facebook nanonood, no, si Sir Richard Lamandas, no, nanonood sa atin. Magandang gabi po, sir. Olga Rizal Palakay, no, magandang gabi po, so Olga, no. Dr. Diaz also is also watching ng Bacoor Historical Society, no. At maya-maya pa siguro marami naghihintay sa atin sapagkat ang ating guest ngayon ay foreigner by nationality, no, pero by heart siya po ay isang Pilipino, no, dahil siya ay kumikilala sa ating pambansang bayaning Dr. Jose Rizal. Hindi lang kumikilala, no, siya ay sabi niya ano no, obsessed, no, sa ating pambansang bayani. Wala pa akong nakitang taong ganun, no, obsessed, no. Well, ito pong ating guest ngayon ay isa siyang member ng Order of the Knights of Rizal. Isa po siyang Knight Grand Officer of Rizal. At nakabase siya sa Belgium, no? Sa ano, no, sa nakatira siya sa ano, no, sa Iklo, Belgium. And meron siyang library doon, no? Tayo po ay palad na nakarating na, and he hosted me twice already, no. The first time I went to Europe, he was the one who responded to host me in I think it's 2010, no. Tagal-tagal na rin po 'yon, no. 12 years ago. Then at pupunta tayo po sa Europa, he's very accommodating, no, and he always tour us in Rizal's sites, no, in Europe, especially in France, no, kasi marami pong pinuntahan si Rizal sa Pransya. Then syempre sa Belgium, no, marami rin napuntahan si Rizal, no. So I could say na sa lahat ng nakausap natin, siya ang pinaka ano man sabi, no, Rizalist, no, as a researcher, no, na makikita natin outside the Philippines, no. Kaya ang kagulat-gulat diyan, ang ating pong guest ay hindi siya trained historian, no. Basically he's a military man, part of the Belgian army, no, and he was assigned before in Kabul, Afghanistan, and during that time, while in Kabul, he's disseminating, no, giving a book of El Filibusterismo to Filipinos there. Magugulat talaga kayo, no, sa tao ito, no. At nung po ako nagpunta ng Europa, ang target ko rin talaga ay to trace the footstep of our national hero. Kasi ang dami niya pinuntahan, di ba? Madrid, no, Spain, Paris, France, Belgium, no, Germany, syempre, no. Kaya lang, nung nandito natin ang ating guest, no, nagulat nga ako sa tao ito dahil sa kakaiba, no, kakaiba dahil sa kanyang scholarly work, no, although he's not really trained historian, no. Another thing, ang ating ang guest po ay talagang hinahanap niya yung mga pinuntahan ni Rizal at ina-annotate niya. No, kaya instead na ang research ko sana ay tungkol sa buhay ni Dr. Jose Rizal sa Europa, nagkaroon pa tayo ng interest sa buhay niya. Kaya eventually, I asked him, no, if he could share to us why he became that kind of Rizalist, no, an obsessed Rizalist, no, obsessed sa ating national hero. At yan po ay lumabas sa isang publication, ang tawag ay Belgian Rizalist. No, hindi ko dala yung libro, mamaya siguro mapakita ko, no. Kaya I'm referring to Sir Lucien Spittael. Sir, good evening. Good evening here. Good morning in your area. You could turn on your camera now, sir. Good morning. Good day.
Hi. I would say good afternoon. It's now 2:15 p.m.
Oh, 2:15. It's good afternoon. Yeah. Long time no see, sir. We always see in we meet in online since the pandemic. So how is it going in Belgium now?
Well, COVID is going good now. We are now waiting for our second booster.
Wow.
So everything is open now, stores, we can sit on the bus, we can go to the cinema without masks, and so on and so
Really?
on. So the
Without
situation is
mask?
quite good in Belgium.
Uh-huh. So if a Filipino will go to Belgium like me, if I will decide to go to your place, do I need to present my vaccine card, or do I have to pass some requirements in order
Well,
to go to your place?
yeah, you have to prove that you got your vaccines, and at the moment that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to prove that you received your vaccines and the booster.
Oh yeah. So meaning to say, the um, the vaccine card should be internationally recognized, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think there's an agency doing that, no? Recognizing vaccine card to be of course to be recognized abroad. No? So, Sir Lucien, before you enter the screen, no, I'm telling our viewers that you're the only person that I met who's very ardent, is an ardent Rizalist and quote unquote an obsessed person in our Philippine national hero. So it's really fantastic to learn about that. You are not a Filipino, no, but by heart and in your intellectual uh, trajectory, you're always doing a research on our foremost national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. So how did it started? What happened to your life that changed everything? Could you tell us your story?
Well, the first thing is I married my wife, Madeline, early the 70s. I
Mm-hmm.
went several times to the Philippines and I knew Dr. Jose Rizal. I've seen his statue, and that's the end. But as you said, I have been in the military. So after my military studies, the Belgian army sent me to Germany. Half of the Belgian army was in Germany, in Western Germany at that time. And the first time I came back to Belgium was 1989.
Mm-hmm.
When I came in Belgium, I formed two organizations. One organization was helping Filipino handicapped children. It was an organization in Cainta, house without steps. And I
Mm-hmm.
formed a second with a friend, a second organization, which was called EFPA, East Flanders Philippine Association. Because I was president of those two organizations, I had to go every 2 months to the embassy. And at that time, the ambassador to Belgium was Roberto R. Romolo. And in
Mm-hmm.
1990, Ambassador Romolo told us, the Filipino community, and I was there, we should do something for the centennial of the printing of El Filibustrismo, 1991. So after a couple of months later, we had another meeting. Nobody did anything for Rizal. And I started to go to look for something to read about Rizal. I went to the local library. I didn't find anything.
Mm-hmm.
I got hold of a book, the only German biography of Rizal written by Professor Dahm. So I was reading that book and I got impressed by the life of Rizal. And that started my Rizal life here in Belgium. Uh, I was looking for other biographies. I went to Ghent to get more biographies. And that's the beginning of my Rizal life. In fact, thanks to Ambassador Romolo.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you mentioned that of course you married Madeline, a Filipina, no, and she was probably working in your area, right? In Belgium, in Belgium.
I met
Um,
my wife in Germany.
Yeah, in Germany already.
So I was sent by the army to Germany, and my wife, who is a midwife, came to Germany and worked in Germany. We were almost at the same place. There we met each other, and you know the story about how the story goes. We got married.
Yeah, and we all know that in Germany, Heidelberg and Wilhelmsfeld is very popular about where Rizal stayed for some time. No? So,
Uh,
do you think staying in Germany for some time influenced you to appreciate more about Jose Rizal?
well, I was in Belgium, and something very special happened in my military life. The general headquarters in Brussels assigned me for a job in the NATO headquarters in Heidelberg. Can you
Mm-hmm.
imagine? I could go to
Oh yeah.
Heidelberg, and
Uh-huh.
Rizal has been there for 6 months. I've been there for 5 years, and there I met the greatest Rizalist in Europe at that time was Alexander Musake. He was a
Oh yeah.
KGCR, and
Okay.
I got in contact with him. So we were talking about Rizal, and he was the person who made me a Knight of Rizal in 1994.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And while being in Heidelberg, I met another person. That person was Dr. Fritzhak Ulmer. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Fritzhak Ulmer was the great grandson of Pastor Ulmer. As you know, Rizal stayed in Wilhelmsveld for a couple of months in the house of Pastor Ulmer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in 1959, the wife of the ambassador to Paris, Paz Mendes, was asked to do
Mm-hmm.
research about Rizal. So she came in
Mm-hmm.
contact with Fritzhak Ulmer, and there they found out they had a trunk with all Rizal's uh, relics in the house of Dr. Fritzhak Ulmer. So among them are sketches. There was an original Noli Me Tangere dedicated to Pastor Ulmer. There were newspapers, clippings, and so on. So the whole collection of Rizal, which was that time with Pastor Ulmer in 1886, it still existed. So Paz Mendes has seen them, contacted the Philippines, and finally in 1960, Dr. Fritzhak Ulmer and his brother, Hans Ulmer, they went in 1960 to the Philippines and donated the whole collection, which is called the Ulmer collection. They donated that to the Philippines for free.
Mm-hmm.
So while in
Mm-hmm.
Heidelberg, uh, I've done quite some research in Heidelberg, and you know what happened with Rizal in Heidelberg.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, in 22nd of April 86, he wrote his Alles Flores de Heidelberg.
Mm-hmm.
On that house, there's a Rizal marker. So if you ever go to Heidelberg, there is a Rizal marker on that house where he wrote his Alles Flores de Heidelberg. And Rizal studied ophthalmology at the clinic of Dr. Becker, Otto Becker. And there's a marker, Rizal
Ottawa.
marker.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So basically, well, you appreciate all those markers that refers to our national hero during the time, no? But sir,
Yeah.
I'm puzzled because well, yeah, you already mentioned that started your Rizal life, no? Not really to compare Rizal with other heroes in Europe. Why do you choose Rizal other than other heroes in Europe, for example, no? So, what struck you most in the personality of Dr. Jose Rizal that made you a follower of our national hero?
Yeah. What struck me the most is the way how Rizal lived, which means he lived his own life, of course, but he lived for the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when Rizal came to Europe, it is said Rizal came to Europe uh, to do his studies in medicine and philosophy and letters. but there was a secret pact between Rizal and his brother Paziano.
Yeah.
And the pact was that Rizal should work for his country in Europe. So it was agreed upon them that Paziano would take care of the family and that he would support Rizal financially in Europe. And that Rizal should work for the propaganda for the reforms in Madrid at that time. So we also know that Rizal, when you read Rizal's writings, you know that he was very in front of the Filipino youth. So he encouraged the Filipino youth to go to school, to study, to take care of their parents, and so on. So that was what struck me at that time. And there is a special case when he was in Biarritz, but maybe we tell later about this when eventually we go to Paris. Or
Hopefully.
yeah.
Yes, sir. If you will go back to your life as a Rizalist, no? How will you explain it? How to become a follower of Rizal like you? I think you're not just a follower, but you're putting Rizal by heart. No? So what are the activities that you already have done for our national hero? No, especially in Europe, sir. You have so many activities, of course. Can you explain each of those things?
Yeah. In fact, it was thanks to the Belgian army who sent me to Heidelberg that I started my Rizal research in depth in Germany. So in Europe, I have visited every place where Rizal was, especially in Germany. I had Rizal reminiscences, I had Rizal's letters, so I could follow the story of Rizal. So I went to all places Rizal mentioned in his letters and his reminiscences, which means I went there by car because I wanted to go to the archives, find out something, is there something about Rizal, and to collect old pictures. Like, for instance, Rizal described a tower. So I went to the archives of that town. I went to see, do you have old pictures of that tower? Because the tower didn't exist anymore, and so on. But I did a trip also by train because I wanted to experience the same experience Dr. Rizal had. So I was sitting on the train, going, for instance, from Frankfurt to Berlin, and I was reading what Rizal wrote about his trip, and I was looking around and what mentioned if I could still see something.
Imagine that, sir. And I
Yeah.
still remember when you told me that you board you use a boat you have a boat ride in the Rhine River, no, with the same you like to ride at the same time Rizal road during the time, right? You mentioned that to me, so that you could see what Rizal saw during the time.
Yeah.
Am I right? How did you do that? That kind of Rhine trip?
Well, Rizal stayed for 6 months in Heidelberg. So he stayed in Wilhelmshaven for 2 months. It's about 15 kilometers uphill of Heidelberg. There he had a lot of special experience with with Pastor Ulmer, because Pastor Ulmer learned him how to speak proper German. He used the books from Friedrich Schiller. And then Rizal went back to Heidelberg because he wanted to attend the 500th anniversary of the University of Heidelberg.
Mm-hmm.
While he was going there back to Heidelberg, the 31st of July 1886, he wrote his first letter to Bloemendrid, Ferdinand Bloemendrid.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the start of Rizal's long life correspondence with Ferdinand Bloemendrid. There are more than 200 letters from Bloemendrid and Rizal. And Rizal wrote his last letter to Bloemendrid the 29th of December 1996, so the day before he was shot.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very special letter.
Mm-hmm.
The original letter is in the Czech Republic. So the Philippines National Library, they have a copy of this letter. I've been in the Czech Republic, did some research over there, and I have seen the original letter. To me, this is one of the most important letters Rizal wrote, and I can recite them. So he started his letter 29 December 1996, the day before he was shot. He starts. Professor Ferdinand Bloemendrit, when you receive this letter, my brother, he always called Bloemendrit my brother. When you receive this letter, I shall be dead. Tomorrow, at 7 o'clock, I shall be shot. But I am innocent of the crime of rebellion. I am going to die with a tranquil conscience and never think ill of me. Farewell, my best, my dearest friend, and never think ill of me. 29th of December, Fort Santiago. And then he gives some regards to the wife of Bloemendrit, Rosa, and Loleng, the daughter, and the two sons, Conrad and Frederick. And on the margin of this letter, he wrote, I leave you a book as a remembrance to me. Now, two important things in that letter. It's, of course, he wrote, I am innocent of the crime of rebellion. I have read all Rizal's writings, all his letters, all his diaries, and so on and so on. Rizal never wrote a lie. He made mistakes. Rizal made a mix of mistakes in his writings, but he never wrote a lie. So here's the proof when Rizal wrote to his best friend, but I am innocent of the crime of rebellion. It shows that Rizal was for sure not involved in the rebellion in the Philippines.
Wow. So you saw the letter, the original one.
I have seen the letter in the Czech Republic. It's written in German language. Rizal used to write all his letters to Bloemendrit in the German language.
Yeah. So the Bloemendrit collection was now in the Czech Republic.
Well, there is a collection of Bloemendrit, Rizal, in the Czech Republic. I've been there a couple of times, and I've seen quite a lot of objects which are there. Like, for instance, there is an original copy of the Noli, an original copy of the Fili, an original copy of Successors de las Islas Filipinas, all dedicated to Bloemendrit. There are objects there. There are postcards written by Rizal to Bloemendrit and so on. So a lot of things can be seen in the museum there. Quite interesting to go over there.
Wow. You know, I'm really amazed because if you're in the Philippines, here in the Philippines, very seldom to see original letters or objects about Rizal. Usually it's already, you could find it in museums. But in your area, it seems that there are still several scattered materials, Rizal materials in private collection can be accessed by researchers, right?
Yeah. Well, I've done quite some research, and I went to the Bloemendrit family to see if there are any writings of Rizal in the Bloemendrit family. They are not there anymore. So there are objects of Rizal in, as I told you, in the Czech Republic, in the museum. But there are also special objects of Rizal and letters of Rizal in Germany, in Dresden, and in Berlin. So I made, as I told you, Rizal made the Rhine trip in August 1886. I made the Rhine trip, I think, 11, 12 times.
Wow.
I once made the Rhine trip with members of the Rizal family, and I made once the trip with a member of the Maximo Viola family. What is interesting, when I'm sitting on the boat, I have a copy of Rizal's handwritten diary, the Rhine trip. So if you see the Rhine trip in the reminiscences, there are no sketches. But on the original, Rizal made a lot of sketches along the Rhine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting for me, maybe not for others, but it's very interesting for me to sit on the boat and to know now Rizal described this castle. So you can see on the left side this castle, and then he said in the next turn you see this tower. So I have the sketch of the tower, and you can see the tower, which is quite amazing to see this.
Mm-hmm.
And
It
then,
is beautiful,
you
right?
know, that as you know, when Rizal finished his Rhine trip, he went to Frankfurt and then took the train from Frankfurt to Leipzig, Leipzig, Dresden, Dresden. He ended up in Berlin. So in Leipzig, it's quite interesting because in Leipzig, Rizal translated Friedrich Schiller's William Tell in the
Mm-hmm.
Tagalog language for his nephews.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to Pastor Ulmer back in Wilhelmsveld, who used works of Friedrich Schiller to learn Rizal the proper German language. So he stayed 2 months in Leipzig, and he also translated the 5 fairy tales of Hans Christian Andersen, which he
Mm-hmm.
also translated in Filipino language and sent to the Philippines for his nephews.
Mm-hmm.
So from Leipzig, Rizal went to Dresden. So I also went to Dresden, of course. And in Dresden, if you go to the museum, you can see objects of Rizal.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Dresden, you can see a bowl Rizal sent over there. You can see a bolo, which is there. You can see a fork. You can see a knife. A lot of objects who are still there, which Rizal
Mm-hmm.
sent from Dapitan to his friends in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the reason. And then we go to uh, Berlin. So I also went to Berlin. And Berlin is, well, as you know, is quite interesting for Rizal's life. He finished or published his Noli Me Tangere in Berlin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So as Rizal said himself, he started the Noli in Madrid, where he wrote half of the Noli, and then 1/4 of the Noli was written in Paris, and the
Mm-hmm.
last 1/4 was written in Germany, was
Mm-hmm.
written in the house of Pastor Ulmer.
Mm-hmm.
So when Rizal arrived in Berlin, he had problems because his stipendium, which he normally received from his brother, didn't came.
Mm-hmm.
It was winter time. He was hungry, so he was in despair. But thanks to his friend Maximo Viola, who came from Barcelona to visit him. Dr. Viola
Mm-hmm.
was a medical doctor, so he examined Rizal, took care of him. And the second problem was Rizal did not have money for the publication of his Noli. So it was Dr. Maximo Viola, who came from a wealthy family,
Mm-hmm.
who donated Rizal 300 pesos, and he could uh, print 2,000 copies of the Noli. So it is said, without Maximo Viola, there would not be a Noli, and he is called the savior of the Noli,
From
Maximo Viola.
the yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's already in the books, no? But you know, the things that you go to, you went to different places of Germany, no? Tracing the footsteps of Dr. Rizal is very amazing. Anyway, sir, before we move on, allow me to mention some of our viewers in Facebook. We have Sir Ronald Sipat. Good evening, Sir Manny. Good evening, Sir Lucien. Nom Onis Morial. We have Commissioner Earl Jude Cleope of Silliman University is our commissioner, NCP. Good evening, sir. Rosette Clarencia from National Museum, also watching. Sir Lucien Spittael. Maria Belen Fama, good evening. Uh, Francis Jake Aguilar Erezuela, Kyra Perez, Axel Christian, Sofia Gia Bagolbok, so the curator of the Pitan Shrines also watching, Ricus watching, my friend Ruda Muhal is also watching, Elister Nicolas de la Rosa, watching. Team Francisco, our IHQ admin staff is also watching. Eddie Verherie, also watching. Rodel Abeliana, Dr. Love, also watching us right now. No? So we have so many.
Yeah.
All only those that we could see in the Facebook, but there's also others watching in different platforms. Anyway, sir, before we move on, you sent me some photos. No, maybe you could share that to our viewers right now. I will share it, and you could explain some of it. Not all photos, it's so many.
Can you repeat? I didn't understand you very well. Okay, yeah, here. Okay, this is a sketch Rizal made. This is part of the Ulmer collection.
Wait. I'm checking it how to
I don't see it
pull it up.
anymore.
I think I will remove. Wait, I'm just.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I think this is it. Okay. Yes.
So I told you about the Ulmer collection, which was in the house of the Hack family. This is one of the
Mm-hmm.
sketches Jan made in Willemsveld. It is a joke
Uh-huh.
about two children, and Dr. Frits Gak always told me this is the first comic in the Philippines made by Rizal. So that
Rizal
was my.
made this drawing.
I beg your pardon?
Rizal made these drawings.
Rizal made this drawing, yes, while he was in Willemsveld. It's a kind of
Uh,
joke, you know. They are playing. They were stealing apples, and they were throwing the apples, and one of the children fell in the water, and that's the
uh-huh.
story. The title of this is uh, Die Taufe van R. Pfeiffer. Now, die Taufe is the baptism of Taufe. So I've been
Mm-hmm.
looking for the name Pfeiffer in Willemsveld and neighborhoods. I was not able to find something, so it's strange, but okay, that's what Rizal wrote. Quite an
Okay.
interesting drawing. Here you can see how good Rizal was in making sketches.
Yes.
That's part of the one of the part of the Ulmer collection.
I cannot do that. Okay, let's move on to other photo. I'll. What about this one?
Okay, I have to tell a story about this. I found a letter, a rare letter, Rizal sent from London to Germany to Berlin. And in that letter, Rizal mentioned 21 objects. So the letter
Mm-hmm.
was written in 1888 from London. So I contacted the museum in Berlin and wrote them a message and asked them, I have seen a letter which was sent to you. First, do you still have the letter? Reply came a couple of days later. Yes, the letter is with us. So second question, I sent them, are the 21 objects still in the museum? Reply came, yes, the 21 objects are still in the museum.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately picked up the phone to the museum and asked, is there a possibility that I can see the 21 objects? Answer, yes. So I
Oh.
jumped in my car a couple of days later and drove to Berlin. So when I was in Berlin, I have seen the 21 objects Rizal has sent from London in 1888 to Berlin. Imagine, they survived two world wars. Now, this one is a very special one because Rizal, in his letter, he mentioned the 21 objects, among them uh, knives, shirts, a saya, uh, and other things. And he wrote, there was also a baron, but with this one, Rizal wrote, between brackets, in German, es gehörte mir. Now, es gehörte mir means, this is mine. So on this
Mm-hmm.
picture, you can see, this is the salakot Rizal wore in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And with the objects, you can see there are cards. So the cards give an explanation that it came from Rizal in
Mm-hmm.
1988 and some explanation what it is. So I call this a rediscovery because this was already
Mm-hmm.
known. But it was people forgot it. So in fact, I rediscovered those objects in 2009, and since then, a lot of people have been to the museum. People from the embassy, I think Senator Lagarda, Dr. Ambeto Ocampo. So many people have seen now those objects. Quite interesting that I was able to figure this out and see them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, let's move on to another photo. What about this one? It's like a lion.
Oh, yes. So I told you Rizal made a Rhine trip. So he started from Mainz, took several boats, ended up in Bonn. And along the Rhine trip, when he came back, he stopped a day in Koblenz. So if you go to Koblenz, you can see this lion. It still exists. This is a sketch Rizal made of the lion. And I've been there in Koblenz. I've searched, walked around and found the lion. The monument is still there. That's what's so amazing to me about the Rhine trip, that what Rizal sketched is for 95%, you still can see them along the Rhine. That is one of the sketches. He made a lot of sketches along the Rhine.
Okay, I'll move on to another picture. What about this one?
Well, this is in the museum in Dresden. I told you Rizal sent objects to Dresden, and this is the bowl Rizal sent over there. There is the knife. There is a bamboo, and next to the bamboo, it's a camera, but it was not Rizal's camera. It's my camera, of course. He did not send this. And there are many other things, but that is what can be seen in the museum in Dresden. Rizal objects. What you also can see there, you know that Rizal sent also animals from Titan. 3 of those animals became, they were named Rizal. So there was a frog, there was a flying lizard, and there was a beetle. So he sent them to the museum in Dresden to his friends, and they found out those were new species of animals. So they got them, they gave them the name Rizaliana.
Okay. Still remember the one, Draco Rizalis.
Quite interesting if you are in Germany to visit those places. It's amazing, you know. Those objects were in Rizal's hands, and he sent them over there, and they are still there.
Imagine that. Okay, let's move on to another photo. Hello, this one. I think this is a barong.
Okay, that was one of the 21 objects Rizal sent to Berlin from London in 1888. This is the barong. Some people are telling this is Rizal's barong. This is not correct, because Rizal himself wrote only on one piece, and that was the Salakot. This is mine. So this was just a barong he sent over there.
Do you think that's Rizal's barong?
No, it's not Rizal's barong. They think, or some people are saying it's Rizal's barong. Well, if it was Rizal's barong, he should have put in his letter, when he summed up the objects, he would have put brackets also. This is mine, but I can do. So it's not Rizal's.
It's more of for exhibit only.
Yeah.
It's more on. It's just an object for exhibit. No?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is part of one of the 21 objects Rizal sent to his friend in Berlin. And amazing, look at the barong, still looking very good condition. And he sent it in 1888. We are now 2022 and survived 2 world wars. Amazing.
Wow.
So I encourage everybody who's going to Berlin and Dresden, if they have time, to see those museums.
These 21 objects. Yeah. What about this one? The marker.
Yeah. Well, to make the story very short, Rizal left Berlin with Maximo Viola. They made the trip to Litomerice, the hometown of Blumentritt. Then they went to Prague. Then they went to Austria, to Vienna. Then they went to Germany, Munich. And from Munich, they traveled to Stuttgart. Stuttgart is the town where Rizal stayed for one night. This is a marker which said that Rizal stayed in this hotel. It's not a hotel anymore, but the marker said that Rizal was there in 1887, and that Rizal lived there in this hotel, which is now another building. But that's the marker. And it's on the building. It's inside the building.
Ah, okay. Wow. Stuttgart. Hotel Müller.
And this is, well, when Rizal made his tour in Germany, he transferred to Switzerland. He went to Basel, and from Basel he went to Schaffhausen. This is an old picture I found of the Hotel Müller, and Rizal stayed in the Hotel Müller while he was in Schaffhausen. Now there is a marker on the house which explained that Rizal stayed in this house while being in Schaffhausen. This is an old picture. So now there is a marker on the building.
Okay. What about this one? I think this is your discovery, right?
This is my special discovery. You know,
Yeah.
my research on Rizal was not always positive. It's not a way of roses. Roses has thorns. I had a lot of thorns, which means a lot of things I was looking for, I did not find. But this one is very special. So when Rizal came from France, the 28th of January 1890, he came to Brussels. He lived in a boarding house in Brussels on the street, Rue Philippe de Champagne, number 40. Well, it's now 40. At that time, it was 38.
Okay.
If you read the biographies about Rizal, all of them, they mention Rizal had something to do with one of the ladies there. So as you know, Rizal had quite some girlfriends in Europe, and not only in Europe. So it said Rizal had a relation with Suzanne Jacobi.
Yeah, very popular.
Okay, no problem. But, well, to explain it better, when Rizal was in Brussels, he received a letter from Paciano, and Paciano asked him, can you go to Madrid to do something for the Hacienda case, Calamba Hacienda case? So Rizal went to Madrid to do something for the Hacienda case. And while there, he received 4 letters, 4 existing letters, maybe there are more, but 4 are existing, or were existing. And one of the letters was signed by ST. So who is ST? It should have been Suzanne Jacobi, SJ.
Yeah, okay.
So I made some research in Belgium, and I found this in the archives. In this house, there were 2 ladies living there, 2 sisters. The one was Jacobi Suzanne, she was 46. And you have Jacobi Catherine, she was 45. And here you can see there was also a Till, Suzanne Till. That explains the letter Rizal received with the initials ST, Suzanne Till.
Yeah.
So what biographers are saying, Rizal had a relation with Suzanne Jacobi, it's not wrong. It's wrong. He had a relation with Suzanne Till. And she was the niece of the 2 sisters. Now, I told you the ages of the 2 other ladies, 46 and 54. That niece was 18. So if we go back to Rizal's life, all his girlfriends, starting with in the Philippines, Secunda Katigbak, Leonor Rivera, Leonor Valenzuela, very young girls. But then when he traveled, he had Consuelo Ortigo in Madrid, he had Osai-san in Japan, there was Gertrude Beckett in London, he had Nelly Bouchet in Paris, He had Suzanne Till in Brussels. He had Josephine Brack. You know, all those ladies were in the late 10s or early 20s. So you cannot tell me that Rizal had a relation with Suzanne Jacobi, who was 46, or Katerina, who was 54. For sure, he had a relation with Suzanne Till. And proof of this is the letter with the initials ST, which stands for Suzanne Till. That was quite amazing that I was able to find this, because this was not known, let's say, before. And some people in the Philippines, when I was in the Philippines, I tried to explain this and so on and so on. They said, yeah, but maybe the letter was not so clear anymore, and ST, it could be SJ. No, it could not be SJ, because how is it possible that you have Suzanne Till living there and 18 years old? So it was for sure that girl. And now, Sir Alberto Cambo, in one of his books now, he wrote that this is really Rizal's girlfriend, Suzanne Till. He has seen papers, he came to our place and he has seen those papers here. So quite amazing. Lucky having been able to find this.
Wow, it's really a remarkable find, no? So in my case, if I will leave some documents with initials only, I should be cautious, because if someone like you will investigate on it, there you go. You will have the real story of what's really happening. You know?
Wow. It's a pity
So
that mistakes like this still exist. There are many more other mistakes, but when I have the possibility to do something or do some research on it, and I find something, okay, I'll do it.
yeah. Well, actually, that's only one of your discovery, because if someone will read our book, no, the Belgian Results, there are so many narratives there that mention about your discoveries in different areas. Sir Lucian, it's already 8:55 and we only have 5 minutes to go. And it's very limited for this program. Maybe sometime I will invite you more in a more in a longer time, longer program, no? So that you could also explain more about your other adventures about Rizal. Anyway, sir, can I, for your final note, for the would-be researchers of Rizal, what can you advise to them?
Well, the first advice I can give them, if you read something, try to do some research on it. Just don't copy it, because some things are wrong. So I found out, for instance, along the Rhine trip, it's in the books of Pas Mendes and Professor Elip. This is the Hotel Rizal lived in. So they took a picture, but I went to the archives and I found out the hotel where Rizal stayed in Bingen was bombed in 45. It was another hotel was rebuilt and give the same name. So the pictures you find there are wrong. The pictures you find of the houses in Belgium, in Ghent, it's wrong, because the people who did research from the Philippines, they did not have time, did not know the language, so they have to ask. I've done the research, and the pictures which you see there, they are the wrong pictures. What happened? The houses, the numbering of the houses has been changed since then. And that's the problem. So if you write something or you do something, some research, you have to do a real research and try to find out what is written there in 1889 or 1886 and how to compare it with what is now there. So they have to be careful.
Yeah.
They can ask me if you wish.
On that note, sir, thank you very much. It's a very good advice for our would-be researchers. Always go on the original and don't copy anything. Just have your own
Yeah.
original version. So with
Mhm.
that, sir, thank you very much for sparing some time for us this one hour actually, and we hope to see you again face-to-face, no? And the restrictions already going more not strict anymore. So we could maybe no host programs with the face-to-face so that you could tell your story more about
Yeah.
Rizal with our fellow kababayans.
Yeah,
Okay.
the time is gone because I can tell hours. I can talk hours about Rizal in France, in Paris, in Germany, in London, in Belgium, and so on. But
Yeah,
you
definitely.
have
So
now in a nutshell, and some of the discoveries you have shown them, which is well very helpful for me, and that's why I stay on Rizal's life and try to find something about
yeah,
Rizal.
I'll find time to have that in another forum. Okay, sir. So thank you very much. We don't have enough time. It's already 9 o'clock. So can you turn off your camera for a while, and I'll just end the program, and I'll go back to you. Okay. So yan po mga kababayan, mga kakampi, ang ating pong kaibigan, isang Belgian Rizalist, si Dr. Sir Lucien Spittael, KGOR, at talagang napakarami niyang ginawa no, tungkol sa historiography no, ni Dr. Jose Rizal. No, marami po siya natuklasan. No? At dahil dyan ay marami pang maidadagdag sa alam natin mga impormasyon sa libro tungkol kay Dr. Jose Rizal. So, yan lang po ang pasabog natin ngayong araw na ito, no? Dahil sa ito pong June, na hinati natin sa dalawang serye yan, yung Aguinaldo and Jose Rizal. So, Jose Rizal, it's inaugurated by Sir Lucien, our guest tonight, no? And next week, we will have another guest, also a traveler searching for Rizal's footsteps abroad, no? And the next episode is also a Rizalist doing research in the footsteps of Dr. Rizal. So with that po, maraming salamat po. Wala na po kami oras. Pero tingnan po natin, baka sa ibang pagkakataon na invite po natin si Sir Lucien. So maraming salamat po at mag-ingat po tayo. Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat. At magpatuloy po tayo sa pananaliksik at pag-appreciate ng ating kulturang Pilipino. Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat. Mga kabayani, inaanyayahan namin ang lahat na i-like at mag-subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. At huwag kalimutan pindutin ang ating notification bell para makatanggap kayo ng mga bagong video ng ating programa. Ang programang ito ay mapapanood din natin ng simultaneous broadcast sa APC Channel 31 Best TV. Ako ang inyong host, si Doc Manny, ang inyong kabayani.